you amazing people. Welcome to Love Life LOL by Liah. This is Liah and I hope you're having an awesome day. If in case you're new to this channel, just a quick intro about what L3 stands for. We stand for unrevealing, unhiding, call it whatever you want. The raw, the unspoken side of life as it happens, if I may say. We stand for and we talk about the ugly, the beautiful truth of what we call as reality. But trust me, that's not it, you guys. We also talk about the fun, the quirky, the crazy stuff. And if you relate to any of these things, if you are as weird as I am, stick around and you're gonna love this journey. Today we're gonna talk about grief and how to cope with it. Think of this podcast as a crash course on how to get back to a place of peace and happiness. Grief isn't the easiest thing to talk about. It can come in many forms and stem from many things. From losing your job to a difficult medical diagnosis or losing a loved one. These are all the things that can make us experience grief. But what is grief and how can we help overcome it? So simply put, grief is an emotional response to loss. Of course, there can be other responses such as physical or behavioral. How we respond to loss varies widely. And the most important thing to remember is whatever you experience is okay. The 7 stages of grief that you will experience does not matter if in the same order, but you will go through all these 7 stages to reach that place of calm, peace and serenity. The first of the stages is shock and disbelief. It's natural to be shocked upon learning of the loss, especially if it's sudden or unexpected. You may not believe it on some level in order to avoid the pain. And that's completely alright because that's a way of protecting ourselves from being overwhelmed. You may feel numbness or a lack of belief that this happened. A person can go through many feelings and even have some physical reactions in a state of shock. After some time, it starts to set in that we have lost someone or something that was really important to us, making other emotions and feelings come forward. Trying to wrap our heads around a loss is incredibly difficult. There is no set time for how long it can take, but the most important thing to remember is to give yourself time. Whether it's someone's death or a relationship, ground yourself where you are and things are gonna get better. The second stage is denial. Denial in the grief process isn't quite the same as the normal term denial. But what I mean by this is the term denial when we talk about grief doesn't mean you deny the event. Instead, it refers to how you express your emotions and feelings. Some people deny they are having a difficult time or are deeply affected by the loss. But just as in all the stages, it can present in many different ways. You can think of this as the tip of an iceberg in some ways. There might be many other things beneath the surface, but you are unable to acknowledge them at the moment. Denial can take quite a long time until you feel really ready to move forward. Feelings of denial can stem from a lack of understanding. So there are some things you can do to perhaps make yourself more in tune with the reality. For instance, journaling your way through what is painful and what has happened may help you make sense of your loss. Always remember, finding connections in our lives can often put things in some sort of order. The next stage on coping up with grief is guilt. Guilt can happen if someone has regrets about things unsaid or something they wish they did for someone who is gone. It stems from a desire to go back in time and have do-overs. This can lead to thinking it is your fault. Life can feel pretty scary and chaotic during this time. In feeling this way, you put a lot of pressure on yourself emotionally. The key here is to take care by letting the guilt go, one step at a time. A grief coach may be helpful here to help the griever somewhere to share the experience and put it into some sort of perspective. Moving on to another step in coping up with grief, we have anger and bargaining. And both of these are really important emotions to feel when you're grieving something or someone. Anger is a very real part of the grieving process. With the loss, feelings of disbelief can turn into frustration and anger. Thoughts of why is this happening to me are quite common. It is also normal to feel anger towards yourself for not being able to change the situation or anger at the person for causing it. Additionally, you may become angry at someone who has nothing to do with the situation at all. Another part is bargaining, as we said. This is often filled with many if statements. Bargaining for the loss and trying to find ways to turn the situation around are common. Bargaining is our line of defense when we feel that we are losing control. And if you're spiritual or religious, you start bargaining with the higher power or with the universe, saying, I would do this to have that thing back in my life. Finding healthy ways to deal with your anger is key to overcoming it. Confronting situations that make you feel angry will help you not feel this powerless. If you can, ask yourself, what is making me angry and what can I do about it? This is an important stage to be aware of, because it can have some consequences after of the grief process. Permanent damage to current relationships is possible. And here, a grief recovery coach can give you a safe place to uncover and explore your anger. The next stage on coping with grief is depression, loneliness, and reflection. At this stage, you might be feeling more able to accept the loss, but are still unable to cope with it. One of the hardest things to do is feeling alone in a bad situation. The loss will start to sink in, and depression will come and go in waves. Feeling of wanting to be alone, complete isolation, or being overwhelmed are completely normal. It's a time of reflection, going back and thinking of the past, analyzing it and growing with it. In some ways, this is the first sign of acceptance. You are opening yourself up to the situation, whatever it is. Please remember, it's okay to feel lonely. It's okay to reflect upon your things, to isolate yourself for a certain amount of time. So don't let yourself be talked out of it by well-meaning outsiders. Their inclination to make you feel better right away is well intended. However, going through these feelings helps you move towards peace. But then now is the time to be working hard to not sit in this state. You need to understand that you're grieving, you're depressed, and you're isolating yourself. You need to feel those feelings, acknowledge them, and then let them pass. Being active can help a lot. So why not sign up for that dance class you have always wanted to join? Or ride a bike or go for hikes. Aiming for a goal and getting out of the house can help you see life from a more optimistic place. However, if you feel stuck here or can't seem to move past this stage of grief, talk to a mental health expert. A therapist can do wonders and can help you work through this period of coping. The next stage on coping with grief is reconstruction and working through. As time goes on and you're able to be more functional, your mind will start to work a bit more like it did before. This doesn't mean the feelings of sadness, anger, depression, guilt, or anything else will necessarily be completely gone. But then you can now start to look at things with a clearer view. You will start to sort out how to begin to live a normal life again. This is a period where you can start to look at ways to move forward and pass these stages of the grieving process. You might start to work on practical problems to get back into the life. And yes, the sorrow and sadness will likely still be there, but you will be able to move in the right direction towards the last stage, and that is acceptance. This is the final stage where you will be able to accept and cope with your loss. And this doesn't mean you will ever be over it. However, you can start to feel okay again, and that's completely alright. It comes with an ability to think about that person or that thing that you have lost, talk about them, and have them on your mind without incredible pain or emotion. It is truly a feeling of hope. I mean, yes, life might never be the same, but life will go on. You can still find peace and happiness. It's a time of coming to reality with a complicated process. There is no right way or wrong way to experience grief. You might not experience all these stages. Your friend might be in a stage of anger for weeks while you only experience it for a few days. You might skip bargaining. You don't need to make sure the first stage and the fourth stage happen in order. We are all different and we all need just as much time as we do. However, getting through pain can be difficult to do alone. Seeking out help can make a huge impact in your life and in your healing process, and it can make sure that you move on happily without any baggage. That's That's all for today, guys. If you like this episode, please drop in a like and share with your friends. If you're new to my channel, please do subscribe to Love Life LOL by Liah and be a part of our amazing L3 community. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and the list goes on and on and on. If you got something you want me to talk about or you want to be a part of the show, you can drop me a message on Instagram. My Instagram handle is given in the description, so yeah, do check it out. And thank you for listening in. I'll see you next week, same day, same time. Till then, this is Liah signing off.